Good afternoon and welcome to the Carl and Cymru revision sessions. This session will focus on GCSE business and will be presented by Mrs. Lacey of Harden High School. The session will last around 45 minutes where the teacher will go through the relevant subject content. And if you do have any questions, please use the question and answers section and we'll endeavour to answer your questions during this session. The session will be recorded with all the recordings and the relevant resources uploaded to the e-sgol website in the Carl and Cymru area. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Mrs. Lacey. Diolch.
Hi everybody. Thanks for coming back for the fourth revision session, the final revision session on GCSE business. We are going to be looking at marketing today. Quite a big topic. Some things have been taken out from the spec, so we're just obviously going to be covering anything that is going to be remaining in, and it's topic 5. So we've kind of skipped through a few topics, but I think marketing is quite a big one to cover. So session focus today is we're going to be looking at place, we're going to look at market research, the market and product, promotion, sales process, and looking at some exam tips as well for those big mark questions that quite a few I think students fall down on. So we'll be looking at those things there. Okay, so we're going to start off by place, and again using what we have been using over the last few weeks in the WJEC. Sort of fact sheets are really useful. You can get these on the WJEC website. You can download them. I've put them together as like a little pack for my GCSE students, and we'll distribute them through Teams, but they're really useful. So we're looking at place to start with. So what is place? Well, place is in the marketing mix. It is one of the 4 P's, and it's basically about where you're placing your business. You know, whereabout it's being placed within, you know, where you're actually putting your business is where you're going to be looking at. A couple of key terms. So you've got warehouse. So that's where finished products might be stored. It might be products before they are before your actual product's made, so the producing material that is needed to make those products. You've got distribution channels, so this is like involving the routes that you will follow between manufacturer to consumer, and how they're distributed, and then distribution is like how it's being transported from those places. So looking at place and factors to consider when locating a store. So if your store, for example, you're looking at placing it somewhere, you are going to need to think about some of these things. So closeness of the shop to the market. So you know, has your shop got the availability of customers to come to it? Have you got the availability of a shop? So is it town centre or is it going to be out of town? You know, are you going to need parking, for example? Is it suitable? So is it size, facilities? So one of the questions maybe was about place with regards to like if it was a clothing shop, for example, is the size going to be relevant? Is there enough space in there for changing rooms, if that is something that you're going to need to consider? So you need to think about the business and what needs to be considered. Cost of the shop. So, you know, are you in the first stage of business? You might not want to have anything too expensive, but obviously going to a town centre is going to be more expensive than if you were going to go somewhere that was outside of the town centre. Is it ease of access? So, for example, for customers, for deliveries, you know, are you going to be a business that's going to need to have lots of HGV lorries coming down and delivering to you? If that is the case, you wouldn't choose a location of a place of business that would have very, very thin country roads, because that could cause a problem. Is the business needing passing trade? So are there going to be passing customers that you're going to need? So for example, cafes, for example, may need, would need some passing trade in order to be successful. You've got your competition. Are you anywhere near your competition? That is obviously going to be a problem if you are. And do you need planning permission? So can you actually put your building or your shop in that particular location? You're obviously going to need to check with the county council in order to do that and whether that's going to be viable. So you've got things like multi-channel distribution, and that's where you've got lots of different ways that you distribute your product. So it could be through shops, it could be through catalogue, it could be online. But if you're doing lots of those things, you would be classed as multi-channel distribution. You've got things like marketing. So marketing is basically or direct marketing, sorry, is when you've got a direct link from the producer to the customer, and you're selling straight to the customer, and you're advertising straight to that customer. A couple of other keywords that you might be needing to know is obviously manufacturers, you're making your products. You've got your wholesaler, which is you buying your products from your manufacturer, and then they basically split the goods in small quantities to retailers. Then you've got a retailer, okay, and so a retailer is basically selling your goods to your consumers. So your retailer is like your middleman. So you've got small retailers, so you buy stock from wholesalers, but your large scale retailers buy directly from the manufacturers. So they'll display your goods, they'll promote your goods, they'll sell to consumers, they'll give you customer service, they'll deal with any faulty goods, any complaints to do with that good, they'll distribute them, deliver them. You know, they will do a lot. If you're not obviously selling directly to the customer, maybe online, they would kind of be your middleman to do everything else. Okay, so you've got producer to customer, that's selling directly. You've got selling through retailers, which is your producer to your retailer to the customer. And then you've got selling through wholesalers, which is your producer to your wholesaler, who then distributes it to the retailer, which then distributes it to the consumer. So you've got those things there. So that's talking about place. Okay, now we're going to look at now marketing and market research. So we're going to be looking at that. So few keywords to be thinking about is, first of all, your primary research. So your primary research is you collecting the information yourself. Okay, it's being collected for a specific purpose. It's you physically going out and getting whatever data that you're needing, or any research that you're needing. Okay, so examples of that are things like questionnaires. So if you ever watch The Apprentice, they do quite a lot of primary research. They might go out and do questionnaires, they might do a focus group, they might do interviews or whatever. But basically it's it can be IT research, such as email service, telephone interviews, postal interviews. But as long as you've done it as a business yourself, you can class it as primary research. So advantages to that, well, you've got up-to-date information, you've got information that's gathered firsthand, you've got specific to the owner's business and what you need. You're providing answers with exact questions that the firm is going to maybe be interested in. Okay, so they're your advantages. However, disadvantages are it can be very expensive, it can be very time consuming. You know, if it's something that maybe needs to be researched, but maybe it's more generalized research, maybe secondary research would be less expensive to do. Secondary research is also known as desk research, and this involves information which already exists. So if you're collecting information from newspapers, magazines, reports that have been written, data that's been collated by somebody else, internet research, things like that, if you're getting it from somewhere else, that is your secondary research. So advantages of it, it's inexpensive, it's been done for you, it's already been obtained, so you don't need to spend lots of money on collating that. And it enables cost-effective analysis of several data sources. And you might have even found that the analysis has already been done for you, which obviously would also save you lots of work as well. However, because it's been done for you, it's quite often maybe out of date, okay, and it might not actually be something that is going to be specific to your business, which might inform a lot of managerial decisions and things like that. It could be problems of interpretation, and you've got little control over the quality of what's been done. Okay, now this tiny little diagram down here in the left-hand corner is looking at primary research. So you've got two types of data that you can kind of gather from research. You've got quantitative and you've got qualitative. Okay, so two types of data. So quantitative, bit of a tongue twister, is things that you can quantify, that you can kind of, it's facts and figures that you can give a specific, yes, they've said this is how many people have said this, it's verified, and it's generally things that you can put into charts and graphs and things like that. Surveys, experiments, those sorts of things would be quantitative data. Qualitative data is more thoughts and opinions. So things like focus groups, maybe individual in-depth interviews, human observations and case studies are all going to be qualitative data, because you can't specifically put a number on it. You can't say, 20 people have said this, 30 people have said this. It's more about their thoughts and opinions on whatever you're trying to do. And obviously over on the left-hand side, so right-hand side of the screen is a little bit more information about quantitative and qualitative data with regards to that. So we're going to look at a couple of exam questions. So I do try and put a few exam questions in to give you some ideas of what you could look at being asked. Oh, I'm just going to go back there. Let me just escape that. I obviously didn't put on there a animation. And I bet it's not going to let me do it. So I'm just going to move this out the way very quickly. Okay, so one of the questions is, Isabel has written a business plan and carried out market research. Now, we talked about Isabel last week or the week before. She was the lady in North Wales that has a dress shop for wedding dresses and prom dresses, things like that. Outline why market research is important to Isabel Davies, the owner of Bell's Boutiques. Okay, so pause the video, have a little look at this question, and then I'll go through the answers with you of what kind of things you would be putting. So I can now put this back on, and I should be able to now present this from this point. Hopefully the others have got a animation on them. Okay, so it's a 2-mark answer. So this is where we kind of use that therefore or however in order to try and expand your answer, because you're only getting 2 marks for a developed outline. Okay, so if you're putting it very simply, then you're only going to get 1 mark. So in these 2-mark answers, if we can try and use that maybe therefore. Okay, so examples of limited analysis, it's like things like to inform Isabel of what customers want. So that would be a limited. To give maybe information to Isabel on how they were willing to pay, maybe to help Isabel decide what stock to buy, or Isabel can check competitors' prices. So they're your limited analysis. So that'll get you 1 mark. Your extended and developed analysis, you've got things like Isabel can find out what styles are popular in a fast-moving fashion industry. So you're bringing in the context of the question. Wherever you can try and bring in the context of the business, the better, even in these shorter answer questions. Another example is customers can give information not just on their tastes and what they like, but also information about heights and sizes that Isabel might like to buy. So you're extending those answers. The information will reduce the risk of Isabel spending money on products or buying styles of clothes that customers won't buy. Again, you're bringing in the fact that she owns a dress shop here, which is quite important, especially in the bigger answer question. Oh, have I not put a, apologies, I haven't put a on this either. So I'm just going to move. I thought I had put the animations on them. Let's do that before I upload them. Okay, right. So we've got a question here. So according to the government statistics, small businesses represent 95% of all businesses and employ more than 7 million people in the UK. One example of a small business is Arc Windows. This business owned by Adam Robert Keysmith, who is a sole trader and employs 30 people in the local community. The business manufactures double glazed windows in a small factory and also sells and installs some across South Wales. So the question on this one is, if I can get it up, this is why I like to do the that's the mark scheme. So this is the question. Okay, so the question is, and what I'd like you to do, pause in a minute, is apart from government statistics, identify one other source of secondary data, and then this question B here. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and have a go at that question in your own time, and then I'll go through the mark scheme with you. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little go at the question. So apart from one government statistics, identify one other source of secondary data. So you're looking here, secondary data is obviously your newspapers, your trade journals, your internet data, census data, published research, or internal data, not internet data. So that would be accepted on that one. And then your second one is ARC windows also carry out field primary research. Give one example of field research. So your field research, you are looking at things like focus groups, questionnaires, personal interviews, all those kind of things there. Suggest and explain the benefits to ARC using field research. Right, so it's 2 marks, that question. Okay, so I'm going to now put that back on. So here, so 2 marks. So you need to be looking at suggest and explain the benefits of ARC windows of using field research. So you're looking at 2 times 1 or 1 times 2. So on this particular occasion, it would accept if you I don't know whether it would accept actually 2 answers. It's always best with a 2 mark question is just do that expansion. So the fact it's up to date, that is gathered first hand, it's collected by the researcher, that you maybe expand on that to make sure that it's up to, because it's collected first hand, therefore it's going to be up to date with what the business is needing to find out, would be expanded. So you're using that therefore in there. So if you can try and use that therefore in that answer, that is really going to help you to try and gain those 2 marks. So I'm going to now look at market and products. So looking first of all at functions of a marketing department. Okay, so your marketing department, if it asks you about what the functions are, because my year 11s are just in a mock this week, and one of the questions was what are the functions of a finance department. So this could be quite, you know, what are the functions of a marketing department could be a question. So the kind of things that you put there is the fact that it needs to be do market research, that it's going to be carrying out and finding out what customers want, that they're identifying and sourcing successful products, that the price setting at the right price and finding out what people are willing to pay, the promoting products, the advertising products, where best place for advertising is, the finding out the right place, the right distribution channels, they're looking at sales process and the customer service of the whole business. Okay, so that's what the marketing department sort of will focus on. A few key words to be looking at. So you've got the mass market. So this is large markets of customers which undifferentiated. So the mass market, people that maybe things that don't need to be unique, things that can be used, you know, your flow production that you're basically going to be on a mass scale. You've then got niche market. Now your niche market would be your job kind of production that you would use in production. So things that maybe need to be specific to the customer, tailor-made, depending on what they're wanting things to be. You've got a competitive environment, so that's where your businesses are competing against each other to get the most amount of customers and sell the most amount of products. And then you've got market growth. Now, market growth, the question could be something like, you know, how can you find out whether a business is successful? And one of the ways you can do that is actually to the value of the sales, so the revenue they're generating, and maybe the sales volume of measured the number of items sold, and that you can kind of measure a growth of a business through that. Now with NHS, it's, you know, businesses like that where it's not necessarily a profit organisation. It might be maybe the number of staff that they employ, might be more of a realistic thing to be looking at. You've then got market segmentation. So there are markets that obviously, depending on the business, that they will concentrate on. So this is like dividing your market up into characteristics. So you generally kind of think about things like your age, your gender, your income, your lifestyle, you know, your socio-economic things, time, purpose, interests and hobbies, ethnic and culture, sometimes a market segment, skill and proficiency, and how, you know, whether you're a novice or an expert user, depending on what the product is. Gender as well is also potentially a market segment as well. You've got the marketing mix, so this is where you use your 4 Ps. I think I have got a question on the 4 Ps a little bit later, but we'll cover the marketing mix in a bit more detail a little bit later on. And then you've got your market research, which we've kind of gone over, and then focus groups. So if you've ever watched The Apprentice, that's where you get a group of people in the room and you get them to give you feedback on the actual product that you've produced. And the idea behind that is to make sure that you're getting really kind of detailed feedback, and you know, you're wanting to know maybe the negatives, because then you're able to maybe go ahead and fix those, make it even better. Ideally, you want to do a focus group before your product is going into market. You want to get it maybe at the test stage, at the prototype stage, maybe, so that you're able then to develop that product further. And then you've got consumer panels. So this is recruited by research companies to represent the views of consumers in particular sectors there. Again, looking at products. So we all know hopefully know what a product is. And you've got product differentiation. This involves distinguishing between a product or a service, generally with your USP, which is your unique selling point. So this is, you know, how is your product different to competitors? What are you offering that's obviously better and different, and why people would go with you rather than that other product? You've got things like brand. Okay, so what is a brand? And quite often you do get questions about branding and why is branding important to companies. And the kind of things you should be looking at and saying there is the fact that, you know, a brand makes that brand unique. It's got a unique sign, symbol. You've got words creating a unique image. You've got product and really kind of like it stands out from your competitors. Branded products typically are trusted by the consumer, because, you know, if we think about Heinz baked beans, there's some people in Heinz tomato sauce, there's some people that will not go away from Heinz baked beans and Heinz tomato sauce because they know that they are really good and that they are the best. Personally, I taste no difference between Aldi's brand and Heinz brand. There probably is a bit of a difference, but I like both just the same, and Aldi even more because it's cheaper. However, there's some people that just will not kind of deviate from certain brands. You've got that products usually have a high price when they're branded. So if you've got a popular brand, you will tend to pay a premium price. That products maybe are unique and differentiated and they stand out and they're recognised. You know, if you're going to have a business that has a really strong brand, you know, you don't need to have the name on the logo anymore. You know, for example, if you think about Nike, you see the Nike logo, all it is a tick, but it's so popular and it's so global that they don't even need to put Nike on that logo anymore. As soon as you see that tick, you know that it's Nike. And customers tend to be loyal to a brand. So I mean, I'm no brands person. I will go with whatever's sort of cheapest. But there are people that are very loyal to a brand, and that's the only brand that they go with. You know, so it is quite important to make sure that you are a quality product. So why do businesses brand their products? Well, you've got things like it differentiated from your rivals. It's used in advertising. Brand customers are loyal and likely to kind of stick with you. Enables higher prices, and it also enables you to kind of go into a global market because you're widely like known for that. Looking at why sell high quality products, well, lots of reasons. You've got high levels of customer satisfaction, and the Americans quite often have it. It's like the customer is always right, and yes, they kind of are. If you want to keep your customers really happy, and make sure that you're not getting bad reviews, customer service is a really big thing, and making sure that your customers are satisfied. Because if they're satisfied, they're going to do a repeat purchase with that. You've got differentiating the goods from your rivals. You've got increased sales and market share by having a high quality product. You've got improve your image. You've got the fact you can charge higher prices for a quality product because it's going to last. And you've got less complaints and returns, because that is going to cost you money. If you've got lots of complaints, you've got lots of returns, you're having to return money, you know, that is going to have a real kind of impact on your profit with regards to that. So it's definitely important to make sure that your product is of high quality. And if we take like John Lewis as an example, for example, lots of people will go with John Lewis, and it's not a cheap retailer, but quite a lot of people will go with John Lewis, especially for electrical items, because they think, well, John Lewis, I know that if something goes wrong with that electrical item, I've got 2-year warranty, no quibble warranty with that, and they're willing maybe to pay that little bit extra in order to get that peace of mind, if you like, because quite a lot of electricals are high price items. You're spending a lot of money. You want to make sure that obviously that is going to last and it's not going to break 6 months down the line. So you've got marketing mix, and we're going to go through the marketing mix in a little bit, I think. I'm hoping so anyway, but you've got product, price, promotion and price with your marketing mix. And why do businesses sell a wide range of products? Well, you've got spreading the risk. So the more goods you have, the more kind of, if one area is underperforming, it reduces the risk of the business going under, because you've got other fingers in your different pies. So like, you know, if you think about Disney, they have many things that are going on there with their business, from animation to film to theme parks to toys. You know, if we think about that conglomerate integration, they are a massively great example with that. It can attract more customers. You've got competitor advantage. It keep up with competitors. You've got a greater revenue because you are obviously selling more products and more different ranges, and that you've hopefully got a bigger profit, which then leads to your economies of scale. So if you are a bigger company, chances are you will get those units in at a cheaper price. That means that obviously your profits will be hopefully higher. Okay, now, so we're going to look at the product life cycle here. Okay, so you've got stages of the product life cycle. So you've got, I'm just trying to think here whether or not we kind of go through. Yeah. Yes, we'll go through it sort of individually. So reasons for a fall of product life cycle. So you've got the fact that fall in sales would generally happen to a product in its life cycle somewhere. Okay, because people may be buying alternatives, maybe buying cheaper, maybe another quality product has come out, maybe a more updated product has come out. So it's going to maybe fall. You've got the same quantity of goods sold at a lower price, so the value's fallen. Goods available from alternative suppliers. You've got maybe a recession that people aren't able to spend money. You've got maybe technological change. So if we think about DVDs now, you know, they're kind of falling because obviously you've got things like downloading, streaming of films. Products already owned, so you don't need to, you know, how many Hoovers do you need in your life? You know, the fact that you've already got that product, especially longer price items, that things that are you know, durable items that aren't, you're not buying, you know, every year, you're not buying every couple of months, you know, you could go 10 years before you buy another one. And products actually last longer, you don't need to buy them as often. So you've got the systems product life cycle. So you've got, first of all, your product research and development. So this is where the company does your market research. This is where a new product's developed. this is where the business will invest heavily, but at that point they're not receiving any revenue. So this is where the market research really comes into fruition to start with, because there is absolutely no point developing a product that isn't going to sell. So you really need to, your marketing department really needs to focus in to make sure that this product is something that is going to sell and is going to make profit, because if it's not, it's going to be a real waste of money. Then you've got your product launch. So your products are then launched and introduced to the market. Now, this is where your potential growth is going to come in. You've got costs tend to be high because of advertising and bringing things to the market, and the business is likely at the launch stage not to make any profit. Then you've got your profit growth. So this is the part, the early stages, it's just been launched, that the should be where your biggest rise is of sort of sales, and customers become familiar with the product and repeat customers built up because they are maybe becoming loyal customers. The business is likely to continue to promote the product to help generate the brand. So that advertising is in there, promotion is in there in order to try and promote the brand. And as sales increase, the business will hope to earn enough money to pay back their initial investment. So this is where the most money should be hopefully made. Then you've got product to maturity. So this is the point where the sales reach their peak and they start to level off. So you might see a sort of a stagnate in the sales. So competitors might be sort of them coming into fruition with you, might be seeing what you're doing, they're kind of copying you. They could be producing a better product, they might have a USP that's better than you, and this is where your product kind of flatlines, if you like. Then you've got your product saturation. So this is a point where the market is full as competitors introduce similar products. All potential customers who want the product have already purchased it. So you're not going to have repeat purchases, especially for those durable items. A business then might actually look into something for new markets. So they might look at where else can they sell this product. So it could be that they're selling it internationally, overseas maybe. They might think about that. Then you've got the product decline. So this is where product starts to fall and the firm will decide on whether they need an extension strategy. So they might need another marketing campaign, for example. Do they need to look into a different market, or are they going to discontinue the product? So this is where, companies discontinue things, is because they've kind of gone through this whole product life cycle and they've kind of thought, right, no, we can't really take this to any further. It would be better for us to discontinue this product. And then you've got your extension strategy. So this involves a number of methods the business might use to prolong the life cycle. So it could be new features, it could be develop similar product, change the brand name, new flavors, could produce quantity, market in different places, new promotions, adopting new pricing strategies. So you've got different things that obviously that could come into play in order to extend the life of that. And you'll notice a lot of tech companies, in order to make sure that their phone is, or their laptop or their tablet is the best, biggest every year, they're bringing out new ones, they're developing new ones, new features, things. Everybody wants like the best iPhone. They want this iPhone, the newest one that comes out, especially people that like to be up to date with things. Okay, so if we look at some example questions, I'm just going to stop a minute to make sure that there's no questions to being asked in the question and answers. Nope, I don't think there is at the moment, so that's fine. I'll kind of continue with it. Okay, so looking at some questions here. So first question here is, the car manufacturers such as Ford Motor Company develop and sell a wide range of cars. So this is exam 2019. For example, they sell small, large cars, availability in a wide range of colours between £9,000 to £300,000, and sell different types of cars in the UK compared to the USA. This is because Ford Motor Company uses market segmentation. Okay, so identify 3 market segments the Ford Motor Company are likely to use. Now, with these sort of questions, what you need to think about is a car company. So what market segment would a car company use? So pause the video, have a little go, and then I'll go through that in once you're ready, once you start playing. Okay, so we're looking at a car company. So you're looking things like gender, income, location, geographic, or lifestyle. Those are the main ones that a car company would be. It would not accept age, and it would not accept culture. Reason being, as a car company, it doesn't matter what age you are to what car you would have. So you would have an 18-year-old driving a Ford Fiesta and a 80-year-old driving a Ford Fiesta. There is no difference sort of in age with regards to that. Culture is the same. You know, there's different ethnicities, different cultural, different races driving the same car. So you can't use that as a market segment for a car company. So you've got to be very specific about, right, what is this business? What is going to be the market section of this particular business? Right, now this is where the 4 Ps. Now I thought I was going to go through the 4 Ps a little bit more than I did actually, but you've got marketing, you've got place, you've got price, you've got promotion in there, and I've forgotten the 4th P. Well, we're going to go through that in a minute anyway. So have a little read of this example question. So you're going to evaluate how Shahid could use 4P market mix to improve the sales of his retail store. So this is a 10-mark answer. Okay, so this is where we're going to be really thinking about this 10-mark answer. So pause, have a go, come back once you're ready. Okay, so this is your levels. Now, I'm not going to go through this too much. You can pause it and have a little look through it, but certainly your A's and the B's, you want to be aiming for around the 4, you know, between this top level 3 here. So you need to fully evaluate the marketing strategy shown. Okay, now this is the mark scheme. I was going to put the mark scheme on anyway. I've done an example answer, okay, to give you an idea of how to get a 10-mark answer. Right, I'm just going to come out of this a little bit first because I couldn't read the top lip there. Okay, so Jade can use the 4 Ps in the marketing mix in a number of ways to improve the sales of the flooring shop. Okay, the first thing that they need to consider are the products they sell. Okay, so we're looking at, oh, a minute, sorry. Okay, so the products that they sell, they could look at selling. So this is what the first one. I'm going to try and do some writing here. So products is your AO1. So you know that one of the P's is products, okay, that they're selling. They could look at selling a new range of flooring that could be exclusive to their shop, right? So this is an AO2. Okay, this could be used. So this is a AO2. I'm very sorry, I'm very bad at writing on this. This could be used to attract new market segments. They will need to find a product with a good USP that will attract the customer to come and buy the products from them. However, okay, so this is where your AO3 is coming in, because you've said your point, which is your AO1, but you're giving a however in there. Okay, however, to find an original product that other retailers are not already stocking might be quite difficult. They will also have to pay a premium for this type of product, and they would they be able to cope with the extra expense of being a small independent store? They might be better making sure that they are only stocking quality products which will satisfy customer needs. So here, the whole thing, how it's been written, you're making a point, you're bringing it back to the AO2, to the actual business context, which is your AO2, and then how it's written, the fact that you're giving your point, you bring it into context, and you're giving it an alternative. However, you're arguing your point is your AO3. Okay, so that kind of thing. I've got a last slide, which though we've only got about 5 minutes left, actually it's gone really quickly, but I might skip a few slides in a bit to kind of go through some tips about your exams and how to answer these sorts of questions. Okay, so I'll let you read through that yourself because we have only got 5 minutes, so I'm not going to whittle on about it, but you can kind of see how I'm setting things out. I find a lot of my students really struggle with, because it's in a pressure exam, they just basically go straight in to these kind of questions. And that, you know, taking a little bit of time to think about it is going to be really beneficial with these sort of questions. So I'm just kind of going to go through. I'm not going to go through promotion. Again, I'll leave that on there for you to have a look at. I just want to get to the last slide, really. Again, pause it, have a little look, a little read through. It's more the last slide. And again, I'll pause through. You can kind of have a look at how to do these. This is the TV advert one actually that my year 11s did just before. Again, sales process. So I'm just going to let you pause it. I know it is the last session. Right. Okay. This one is what I wanted to sort of focus on. Okay. Let's spend the last 5 minutes sort of talking about how to actually try and get as many marks on these 8 and 10 mark questions, because you might actually find there's like, you know, 2 or 3 of them in there in your exam, especially for the A and B students. This is where you need to be clocking up your marks with this. Okay, so first of all, I'd say as a tip, plan out what you might include in each paragraph before you start. So whether it's a quick list or a mind map, just take that little bit of time. I know your exam pressure, take that little bit of time just to note down what you're going to set, what the kind of points you want to make. Then how I would set it out is each paragraph, you make a point. So it could be an advantage of something. So for example, an advantage of being a sole trader could be, you know, what you're being asked about. Then relate this point to the business context and the scenario. Okay, so relate it back to the scenario, the business context. How is that being used in that business context? And then once you've done that, give an opposing view. Use maybe the word however. If you can at the end of each paragraph say, however, X, Y, and Z, you are giving a balanced argument. Okay, and that's where you're getting your AO3. Okay, you're making a point, which is maybe your AO1, which is your knowledge. You're then relating it to the business context, which is your AO2, and then you're giving an opposing view. You're arguing it. You're maybe evaluating it. You're giving that other view. However, that is your AO3. Okay, so just going through very quickly, this one we've just seen. So looking at advertising budget, newspapers or on TV. This is a paragraph I've just written just for this. So what I'd like you to do is have a go at this in a bit and use this kind of each paragraph, make a point, relate this point to the business context scenario, and then give the opposing view. So as an example, so there are many advantages and disadvantages of both TV and newspaper advertising. I've just done a little introduction because this is the first paragraph. Firstly, TV advertising will be able to reach a larger audience in the Arcus store PLC, might be able to attract a bigger target market for the garden sheds and greenhouses. Right, so I've done here, I've made a point that TV advertising would be able to reach a larger audience. Okay, I've then said attract a bigger target market for the garden sheds and greenhouses. Okay, so that's your AO2. They would need to make sure they are making customers fully aware on the advertisement which garden centres will stock their products to take full advantage of this kind of advertising. Again, this was like from the very first of the question scenario, the very first, it kind of talked about the fact that these sheds were being sold in garden centres. So that's why I kind of, again, put this as an AO2. Okay. They would also need to make sure the products are stocked nationally. If they are only stocked in a small region, then maybe a more local TV advert might be more suitable. However, more and more people are not watching live TV, and potential customers may miss the adverts, and this may lead to Argos store, I can't remember how you pronounce that, PLC, losing money that they would not get back in increased sales. Okay, I've said however, and I've said why would that not be a good idea, and by doing that I am hitting my AO3, which is giving a balanced argument and evaluating it. Okay, and how I set this out, so I would then go on to do another paragraph following the same points. Make a point, relate it to the business scenario, give an opposing view. For an 8-mark question, I might be tempted to do 3 to 4 paragraphs. For a 10-mark question, I'd be more likely to do maybe 5 paragraphs. Try and get it in there, okay? Now, remember, if it's an advised question, your last paragraph must be a paragraph that says what you think they should do, okay? So if it's advised them what they've, this is an advised question, so I would need to make sure, if I go back, so should a resource spend most, so it's asking you should they, okay, they're giving you a question. So your last paragraph, so your 5th paragraph should be what do you think they should do, okay, and justify your answers. That's really important. So yes, I think they should do TV advertising because it allows them to do X, Y, and Z, even though newspapers are cheaper. I feel that TV advertising at this point in time would be the best solution for them, for example, okay? And either way, it doesn't matter whether you think it's newspaper or whether you think it's actually TV advert, it does not matter. As long as you're giving reason, justification, and it's appropriate to the context, that's where you need to be making sure that you're doing that, okay? So it's coming just past 6 o'clock now. So thank you for watching with regards to that. I hope your exams go okay. Hope these sessions have been useful and that you've got something out of them that you can kind of take into your exam, and good luck for your business exams.